Yep. Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is the final tutorial prepping you for the STAR Social Studies test to be administered in a week and a half. Hopefully you watched all the prior tutorials. This one presupposes that you have, so please make sure that you go back and watch those first, otherwise you're going to have to do some catching up. Okay, here we go. Got my handy dandy highlighter, got my writing utensil, you'll have a pencil and eraser, hopefully you'll have two pencils, but this is going to be a complete walkthrough, so it is going to be very lengthy. I'm going to take my time going through this. Specifically, we are going to be organizing the questions and using them to answer other questions and making sure that you properly know how to annotate. Here we go, everybody. Alright, so as you've seen in the previous tutorials, after I tell you to write your name, you can open it up. You open that first page, you folded it in half as so, and now you have all of your graphic organizers for all of your different eras. Make sure that you have those. I'm going to set this off to the side. Pull that over here because you're going to have that with you throughout the entire test. Next thing you had to do, you added your map. You've got all your different territories and zones on here. Make sure you have all that. We've also added our timeline that we can use as we're taking this test. Okay? You set this off to the side and we're going to start answering those questions. So, here we go. Alright, question 1. Which of the following best replaces the question mark? So, replaces the question mark up here. We see Texas and we see California. Bear Flag Revolt, gold mining, statehood, 1850. Well, we can go ahead and we can add that to our timeline here. Let's go back about halfway through here, 1850. California, well, it's Cali. We'll come back over here to our question. We go on the other side. They had their own revolution. We got that. Cotton cultivation, that's in the south, and U.S. statehood in 1845. So now I can add that to my timeline as well. So now we know which one comes first. 1845 is going to be Texas. Check. So now we've got two things that we've added to our timeline from this test to help us out. Alright, so we see statehood on both sides. Cotton is in the south, but we've got gold mining over here, so those are two different commodities. So make sure we write money here. This is how they got started, so they both got started with some sort of fight, revolt, and revolution. We're looking at synonyms right there. This is what they have in common. Make sure you're annotating differences and differences. Alright, former Mexican territory. Well, that's a given, okay? Dependent upon slavery. Well, they needed slavery for cotton. Cotton, not gold. So they don't share that in common, so I can eliminate that. Settled by Mormons. Neither one of these talks about Mormonism, and that's Utah. Hopefully you remember that. Not mentioned in the queue. Yeah. And then large coal deposits. Neither one of these are talked. So not mentioned in queue. We get that? We got that. The process of elimination lets us know that they are both former Mexican territory and they come from the Mexican cession. Okay, so our answer here, number 1, is going to be A. But let's also make sure we organize this so we can use the information later. We've already added the dates. We've already added those. But let's also add the question. So we come over here, we're looking at our eras. Question 1 is going to go in westward expansion, industrial revolution, because we're moving out west. And that's one of those territories right there with the Mexican cession. So question 1, pop it in right there. Okay. Put that off the side. And then up here as well. So we go on to question 2. Alright, question 2. Alright, we've got intolerable acts. So we should already know where this is going. First Continental Congress, we know this happens before the Revolution, and Thomas Paine's Common Sense is published. So we know that Thomas Paine wrote this. They're just giving us a name for that real quick. So we don't have any dates on here, but what we can do is we can go ahead, we can find where it belongs. Question 2 is happening for the American Revolution, so that's going in there. Okay. Okay. Well, the era of good feelings. The era of good feelings is going to happen way after the War of 1812. And that's when we're going west. So going west. So we got that. And if we're going west, that's going to be era westward expansion. So that does not fit there. Revolutionary era. Okay. Maybe. When do we get rid of that? Westward expansion is the same thing as that. So so you know it's not that one, and the Jacksonian era. Now you got to think about when Jackson was the president. When Jackson's the president during that westward expansion, that Indian Removal Act. So again, that's when we're going to see that particular era right there. And this question, the Intolerable Acts, First Continental Congress, and Thomas Paine's Common Sense, well, that goes over here in the American Revolution. So, question number 2, pop right in there. And then we can look at our answer choices here. Revolutionary Jackson. I'm going to go with H. Jackson is also going to be westward expansion. It also helps to remember that westward expansion, we're also sending the Native Americans out west too, in addition to all the other families that are expanding out west. So, westward expansion, westward expansion, westward. So, if we numbered our eras, come back over here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is era 4. This is number 4. This is number 4. This is number 4, and this is number 2. Not one of these is a possible answer choice. This is why we use those eras to help us out. Let's move on to question 3, shall we? Alright, here we have the Constitutional Convention. So before we even get into the question, we've got the Constitutional Convention. I'm going to pop back over to our era chart, and we're going to see if we have the Constitution on here. And that's where we see this, with New Republic. So question 3 is going right in there for the Constitution. Okay, so I can write New Republic up here, if that helps. Okay, so we get the Virginia Plan, the New Jersey Plan, and something in the middle. Which of the following should replace the question mark? Now these are linking up, so what is going to link the two? Well, we know if we have two sides and they're trying to come to an agreement, that's going to be a compromise. So look at my answer choices. Democracy, compromise, balances, compromise. So I see compromise, and I see compromise. And that's one of the things the Constitutional Convention is all about. The convention is all about compromise. So I can go ahead and I can eliminate direct democracy and checks and balances, because this right here is going to be about the 3 branches: executive, legislative, and judicial, and direct democracy is going to be about voting. And do we see voting in any one of these? We don't see that. So we've got the Great Compromise, and we've got the Missouri Compromise. Well, I see Virginia, and I see New Jersey. Is Missouri going to go in the middle? Well, when does Missouri show up? Well, Missouri doesn't show up until westward expansion we get past the Appalachian Mountains. So this is again going to be another era 4. This is era 4. And the Great Compromise, well, we check our chart again. Here's the compromises, New Jersey and Virginia. That's the Great Compromise. Seems pretty straightforward. Alright, got era 3, and which one's going to fit in the box? Is going to be the Great Compromise. Great Compromise. Cool. So we go back over here. Question 1 is going into westward expansion. Question 2, an American Revolution. And question 3 going into New Republic. Move on to question 4. Oh, question 4. Awesome. First thing we're going to see. Just save yourself some time when you're looking at quotation questions. Yes, you can read the whole thing, but it's more of an expedient process if you look at the first sentence, the last sentence, who said it, and the date. So we're going to do that first. Now, it doesn't always work. When it does, it's awesome. So the first sentence, Black Codes was a name given to laws passed by Southern government to establish during the presidency of Andrew Johnson, but we're looking at this, okay. Weapons in public places and working in certain occupations. I'm going to go back up here and see how this doesn't work. Forbidden from carrying. National Archives and Records Administration, July 14th, 2010. Well, if we look at our timeline here, our timeline does not go past 1877. That's the furthest date that we have on this particular timeline, okay? So we get that out of the way, and we look at the first sentence when we're looking at this. Black Codes was a name given to laws passed by Southern governments. Well, Southern governments. When do we have the North versus the South? Well, that's either going to be the Civil War or it's going to be Reconstruction. Well, let's look at the graphic organizers that we've had you guys add on here. Alright, we see the documents here. See Emancipation Proclamation, 13th Amendment, battles, the assassination of Lincoln, Union versus the Confederacy and their commodities, Reconstruction, Black Codes. So we know that question number 4 is going to fit into Reconstruction. Move that out of the way. Okay. So Black Codes, who's this designed to affect? Blacks in the South, African Americans who were recently freed, right? Okay. So let's check it out. One of the next strategies we're going to look at, and this is something you should know from your reading classes, is to look at the verbs and the nouns. So I'm going to use my highlighter for this, and I'm going to look at the verbs. Limit, increase, decrease, or improve. Okay? Just basic reading strategy here. Limit means to keep something down, right? Increase means to go up. Decrease means to go down. And improve means to go up. Black Codes was a name given to laws passed by Southern governments established during the presidency of Andrew Johnson, imposed severe restrictions on freedmen. And see, we have to highlight some more here. Imposed severe restrictions on freedmen. Well, restriction. What would be a synonym for restriction? We've got limit and we've got decrease. Increase is restriction. If you guys get put on restriction, which is, I know, a colloquialism that you guys use, if you're put on restriction for whatever you've done to be punished for, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, pretty much a bad thing. So we're going to eliminate G and we're going to eliminate J because these two are good things and these right here are not. So we're down to F and H. Get rid of that, get rid of that. Now between F and H, let's check it out. Limit the effects of the Reconstruction Amendments. Well, what were the Reconstruction Amendments? Come back over here. Reconstruction Amendments. We've got 14 and 15. Give citizenship and to allow voting. Well, who would they not want to be citizens and who would they not want to vote in the South? There you go. So Reconstruction Amendments, we're going to write 13, 14, and 15 right here. And decrease the other northern representatives in Congress. Well, this whole thing doesn't mention anything about representation in Congress. It specifically only targets those who need to have the Black Codes on them. So decrease the number of northern representatives. Doesn't talk about representation. We get rid of that. Here we're left with F. Now those are the first 4 questions. And it's taken us 12 minutes to get through them. Not too shabby. Let's move on to number 4. Alright, 5. Another big quote. This is where you've got to use your endurance for this. Again, we're going to go with the first sentence, last sentence, and we'll check if we need to read any more. Resolved that our title to the whole of the territory of Oregon, so we're talking about the Oregon Territory here, recommends to the cordial support of democracy of the Union. Democratic Platform of 1844. Okay, 1844. Let's look at this. Get our timeline going. 1844. We've got the Oregon Territory. Okay. So you come back over here and we look at where those are. Well, Oregon Territory with the Oregon Trail and all that stuff being added here. I don't see it anywhere else. There you go. It can be question number 5. Going into westward expansion. Get that out of here. So we got the organization and we've got a timeline we worked on. Okay. So resolved that our title of the whole territory of Oregon is clear and unquestionable. No portion of the same ought to be ceded. Well, ceded is giving up, like the Mexican cession, given to England or any other power. So we're not giving it to anybody else. Okay? Recommend the cordial support of the democracy of the Union. So they want help from the government. This excerpt provides evidence that in 1844, Democrats supported, and then we're going to use synonym here, Democrats wanted, what did they want? Federal financing for transportation systems in the West. Well, this is not talking about transportation at all. In transportation, wagons, railroad, trails, nothing in here about any of that, so get rid of that. Making manifest destiny an official federal policy. Well, it is talking about the Democratic Party platform, so federal policy, maybe. Social Darwinism is a justification for expansion. Well, social Darwinism is talking about the survival of the fittest, but it's not talking about anybody fighting in here for survival. Who is the more powerful territory? Get rid of that. Prohibiting the expansion of slavery into new areas of the United States. Does this mention slavery at all? It does not mention slavery at all. Okay, so we're left with what? Making manifest destiny an official federal policy. Okay. Number 5, B. Going for it. Let's move on. Number 6. Make sure we can see number 6. Which problem did George Washington, it says George Washington, but it doesn't say president or general. If it automatically told you president or general, you would know what era this is right off the bat. General is going to be American Revolution. President is going to be New Republic. Encounter when he became president. Oh, look at that. it gave you that information. So we already know that this is going to be New Republic because that's when he